So I'm going to start with the big picture and then zoom in to ISIS and their social media and their reaction to that social media. So first, to put this in perspective, you're talking about a region that has actually never, until the Arab Spring, seen a peaceful rotation of power. Usually how it happens is a sect, a family, takes over by force and stays until somebody stronger comes and replaces them. And there's no sharing power. Whoever is in power dictates. So Iran, for example, was Sunni until a monarch came and decided the whole population should be Shia to counter the Ottomans. So this is a region that really needs to learn what it means to share power, to be citizens of a nation.
At the national level. At
the national level, absolutely. So, and if you think about it, the very concept of a nation state is new in Europe. It wasn't until the first half of the 20th century that Europe really became comfortable writing constitutions and becoming nation states. And geography of Europe looked very different only 100 years ago. So the best service the US could have done when they invaded Iraq was actually as much, if not more, than training the Iraqi army, is to train the Iraqis on civic engagements and how to share power, how to be, what it means to have real citizenship and equality, which is really alien to much of the Arab world. In my own household, there's no way my brother can accept we're equal. So the very concept of egalitarianism, citizenship, we're all equal in front of the state, that's something that needs to be taught, and this is where the US can really make a huge contribution. And if you look right now also on the ground, you have a region that is 80% under 40 and 70% under 30, mostly unmarried. These young people want change. They want modernity, which is why the Arab Spring was peaceful, was inclusive, was egalitarian, and the demands of the revolutions were madaniya, civilian, which is really as close as you can come in our culture to saying, we don't want religion to be part of the state. It's legal, it's civic society. So if you take this into consideration and you zoom into Iraq, you have a government that is very much part of the problem. You cannot, the Maliki's government has managed to do the impossible. It has managed not only to alienate the Sunni population, it has managed to have a Zarqawi-like figure, Baghdadi, a Saddam-like figure, a former Ba'athist general, Ad-Duri, Sufis, all aligned against Al-Qaeda. And this is why this territory grab was successful, because this is how strongly all these groups that are sworn enemies feel against Maliki and his policies and his government. So I feel like if the US wanted truly to have a solution, I would think the first thing is Maliki has to resign, a new prime minister to show good faith to all these different groups that are Iraqi, that have been disenfranchised since Maliki came into power, a new leader to show faith that there's truly a will to cooperate, a will to come to an agreement and to share power peacefully. So looking at ISIS, you know, there has been, I want to start by debunking a myth that Al-Qaeda actually disavowed ISIS because they were too violent for Al-Qaeda. I mean, killing is killing. Al-Qaeda had no problem killing thousands of civilians, unarmed, in a plane. So that's silly. It wasn't that at all, actually. And we know that because, not only because it makes no sense at all, but because also the alliance that Al-Qaeda that ISIS has is so fragile, in fact, because you have people with such different backgrounds. Again, Ba'athist, Sufis, hardcore militants, aligning together just because of their grievances against Maliki's policies. But if Malikis, like, they are not natural allies by any stretch of the imagination. So if you take this alliance, already there's somebody from within leaking all their secrets. It's called Wiki Baghdadi. We don't know who he is, but he's been really instrumental in divulging a lot of names, a lot of details. For example, he divulged how it came about that ISIS and Jabhat al-Nusra, which is the Al-Qaeda affiliated group, became enemies. So Baghdadi, apparently somebody with a huge ego, wanted Jabhat al-Nusra to not only pledge allegiance, but to dissolve themselves, hand over their weapons, and or else be killed. Of course, they said, whoa, actually, no, we have a lot of popularity. We don't want to dissolve ourselves. So then he formed units to actually assassinate all of Al-Qaeda. So this is how much there is zero tolerance for dissent from within that organization. Now, when your alliance is made of such contradictory backgrounds, you don't have loyalty. Loyalty is built through shared time and shared experiences. So this loyalty does not exist, so it's very easy to get to dissent from within such an alliance. And I want to address also the social media, like, oh, they're using social media, oh my God. The thing is, Islamists in general, militant, peaceful, political Islam, they have actually been on top of media. In fact, the Arab internet, a few years ago when I was doing research on counterterrorism, you couldn't find a liberal website. It was 100% practically Wahhabi, Islamist, I mean, that's the only content you have. But what the new development, the exciting new development that is totally under the radar is that liberal content is competing with such content. Oh, and it is winning big time. So if you look, for example, at this 80% how they use the internet, what is the most popular, the most watched 10 YouTube channels? It's all 10 of them, equivalent of Jon Stewart's of the Arab world. All of them, in Jordan, in Saudi, in Egypt. So what's popular among the youth is somebody who makes fun of the authority, political, religious, social. This is the 80% that we should not forget. This is our future ally. This is when, in order to prevent this from happening 10 or 5 or even 2 years from happening, this is the audience that you need to be dealing with, the 80% that wants exactly what America has. So if you look at the top 10 Facebook pages or even 150, you'd be shocked. You know, it's National Geographic Abu Dhabi is among the top 5. Number 1 is educate yourself. Number 2 is a Facebook that follows Hollywood movies and stars. And so it's important to keep that in mind. And finally, because again, there's no loyalty in such an alliance that is formed so rapidly, they are actually dependent on social media to attract recruits, because their violence is not making them popular in the Arab world. You can scare somebody to death. That's not actually very hard to do. But to get their loyalty and allegiance and wanting them to work with you, that's a whole different story. So because they're depending on social media, the people they attract are simply bloodthirsty individuals who they find it attractive that you kill elderly people or teenagers. I watched an hour video of ISIS. The whole video is just killing unarmed people. Everybody in the video who was killed, this is not heroism. That is horrific. So whoever is thinking, whoa, I want to join them, that's whether it's somebody in Europe or America, or I mean, that's somebody who gets just as equally turned on by Hollywood violence. So, but the wider context of the Arab world, it was actually Al-Qaeda. Their brutality caused the Sahwa councils first, and it will cause. I mean, it continues to cause. It caused a whole wave of theologians for Al-Qaeda to recant. And it's inevitable that very propaganda they use to supposedly attract more recruits will cause them to have another wave of repulsion and that much stronger feelings that this is something we need to tackle as a culture, as a religion, etc.